Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm down here at Parramatta Park and would love to take you through another book. And the book that I've selected for today is entitled How to Stop Feeling Like Shit, a book that was published by a lady author named Andrea Owen. This book is a candid, empowering and practical guide for women and anyone who feels stuck in self-sabotaging behaviours that undermine their happiness and well-being. Drawing from her experiences as a life coach, as well as insights from psychology and personal growth, Owen identifies common patterns of behaviour that hold people back and offers actionable strategies to try and overcome them. With humour, comparison and tough love, the book provides tools to help readers work through and embrace self-worth, letting go of dreaded perfectionism, and hopefully learning to live more authentically. So let's see where this book can take us on this magical day and see what we can learn and what we can glean. The author talks about self-sabotaging behaviours that keep us stuck, and Owen identifies 14 common behaviours that contribute to feelings of dissatisfaction and low self-esteem, such as people-pleasing, perfectionism, numbing, guilt, and catastrophizing. These patterns often develop as coping mechanisms, but ultimately prevent us from living fulfilling lives. Recognizing and addressing these behaviors is the first step to change. The author reminds us that perfectionism is a trap. Perfectionism may seem like a noble pursuit, but Owen explains that it's actually fear in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, or not being enough. Striving for perfection is exhausting and unattainable, and it often leads to procrastination or burnout. Instead, Owen encourages readers to embrace imperfectionism as an aim for progress and not perfection. The author highlights that people-pleasing undermines authenticity. Many of us prioritize pleasing others to avoid conflict or rejection, but this behaviour can lead to resentment, burnout, and loss of self-identity. And Owen urges readers to set healthy boundaries and focus on their own needs and values, even if it means disappointing others. Saying no is an act of self-care and not selfishness. The author here goes on to say that numbing is not the solution. In an effort to avoid discomfort or pain, many people turn to the practice to numb behaviours like overeating, drinking, binge watching of TV, or scrolling through social media. Owen explains that numbing only provides temporary relief and prevents us from addressing the root causes of our struggles. Instead, she advocates for sitting with emotions and finding healthier ways to cope with those feelings. Negative self-talk is a form of self-sabotage, and Owen highlights the damaging impact of negative self-talk, which perpetuates feelings of shame and inadequacy. She encourages readers to become aware of their inner critic and replace harsh, critical thoughts with self-compassionate ones. Treating ourselves with kindness is essential for building confidence and breaking free from the self-sabotaging patterns that often overwhelm people. The author goes on to talk about vulnerability and says that it is indeed a strength and not a weakness. Many people avoid vulnerability because they fear rejection or judgment, but Owen emphasises that vulnerability is essential for meaningful connection and growth. Sharing our authentic selves, even our struggles and imperfections, allows us to build deeper relationships and lead a more authentic life. Comparison is a challenge, and the author here reminds us that it steals joy. Comparing ourselves to others, whether it's their career success, relationships, or social media highlights, can lead to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. Owen reminds readers that comparison is a losing game because we only see a curated version of other people's lives. Instead, she encourages focusing on gratitude and celebrating personal growth. We look at guilt and shame and call them out as being toxic emotions. Guilt and shame often stem from societal expectations or internalized beliefs about what we should be doing. Owen explains that guilt can sometimes motivate positive change, but shame is destructive and leads to self-criticism and ultimately to isolation. She encourages readers to challenge should expectations and practice self-forgiveness. We move on to taking responsibility that empowers us. While external circumstances often play a role in our struggles, Owen emphasises the importance of taking responsibility for one's own happiness and choices. Blaming others or external factors keeps us stuck, but taking ownership of our lives often allows us to create meaningful change to help us move forward. And the last point to come from this author is the point that self-care is non-negotiable. Owen stresses that self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for emotional and physical well-being. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, and I look forward to coming to you again from a different place with another message of empowerment.